Back again, welcome back to Mayor's Monday. Last time we saw you, you had an $80 million idea and project that you unveiled. I assume you don't have anything that big this time, do you?
No, we don't, but we can talk and maybe unpack some of the details about the announcement that we held just a couple of weeks ago here in the city. It was on the coldest day of the year and maybe the coldest day of a generation, so we told folks that we were only going to bring them out during a very cold day if we had some really warm and exciting news, of which we did. We had some folks in from the Toronto area in Canada that we've been engaging with for the last year. Those folks were looking at building an aluminum plant somewhere in the Midwest. And since that time, we were working with a site selector for a good portion of it, of which we didn't know who the company was. We didn't know even what the company was all about, other than some basic details around job creation, level of investment, etc. And so since that time, since about March or even throughout late winter last year, a year ago, we began engaging with a site selector who was working to find sites around Wisconsin that might be a fit for the company. And I know they were in central Wisconsin looking at other communities in our area too. And we were so fortunate to be the top site in Wisconsin, and then ultimately the top site that they selected for the project. So we shared that news with the public and with the community. In effect, as you mentioned, it's an $80 million investment with 80 jobs, full-time jobs, skilled and unskilled, a good mixture of them. That will be created as a result of this aluminum plant. And what they do is they extrude aluminum. So they are a recovery and a recycling facility, a closed loop system. So in the aluminum world, at least the world that they operate in, there isn't any waste. So any scrap aluminum that's made perhaps in crystal finishings in some of the aluminum or some of the window facilities that are made up in the Schofield, Mosinee area are the types of aluminum that this facility would produce. So very exciting news to Wisconsin Rapids. We have not had a new industry really enter the Wisconsin Rapids area for decades. We've got agricultural businesses around us and food processing that have sort of grown over the years, but we haven't had a new single industry or a new company enter the marketplace in addition to the pulp paper dominance that has been in our community since our community's inception.
Yeah, absolutely. And in talking with them, it seemed like they're really excited about the area and the possibilities that this brings, because the one thing that they had mentioned was they don't know if this is going to be it here in Wisconsin Rapids. They don't know if they're going to have the possibility of maybe another facility or bringing in some more jobs or expanding in this location. And from in talking with you, it seems like that's what your location offered, and that's one of the deciding factors.
Absolutely. So it was the largest parcel that the city had that was served by utilities, that was in the city's corporate limits. So it was a 50-acre parcel. Their facility, as you just mentioned, is only going to be operating or occupying a portion of that property. And so part of our discussions were, why do you need 50 acres for a fairly small facility, about half of the acreage? Well, part of it's for storage of material in the case that they may have semis on property as they're transferring product in and out. Availability of rail access, natural gas. They're a heavy natural gas user, so working with the utility there, as well as our municipally owned electric utility. That our utility is going to be able to service their power needs. Because it's going to be a 24/7 operation with heavy power and natural gas uses, we were very excited because it's a new customer for our electrical utility as well. So you talk about phase two, that was a big part of it, is what could phase two be? They've got a number of companies associated within their group, and this is one of their metals companies. So we're very excited that they selected Wisconsin Rapids, that they stuck with us, they believed in the area, they cited our investments in quality of life, such as the proximity to the river and recreational activities, as well as all the community facilities that we've been talking a lot about on previous Mayor's Mondays.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what I understand, you still have a few things that still have to be finalized yet before they actually do break ground on this facility, or possibly when the snow melts on that facility, which could be July 4th, and you can actually break ground on it. What are some of those, and what's the timeline for those items yet?
Sure, we have to transfer the land yet, so we have not executed the sale of the property. We still have to act on the incentive package, so we had worked with the state on securing some tax some tax incentives as well as locally to getting them the extension of the rail spur and some other transportation improvements. So and we're also working through, based upon their level of investment and the jobs that they create, they'll have to commit to those things in order to receive the TIF incentive, the TIF cash grant that we're going to provide through the project. So all of those things will still have to be approved by the council, probably in March, and then they'll be able to break ground sometime after March, perhaps when the snow melts and the ground warms up. But there's so many technologies now to be able to break ground, and even in the cold temperature months that we've got here now.
So we'll be looking forward to that. I'm sure that's going to be a big deal when that groundbreaking ceremony happens, and we'll look forward to watching this thing go up over the next 18 months or so. They said it's going to be an interesting process and a great thing for Wisconsin Rapids.
No question.
Mentioned.
Single largest project in years, so we're very excited.
And speaking of all that snow, of course, we're just still unpacking all of that. Some people may be still digging out from this as this airs on Monday. Tell us how the city came through with the latest event, setting a record, from what I understand, over a foot of snow over a couple days.
Yeah, it was quite a snowstorm. We budget every calendar year for snow removal operations. We just flipped over into the budget year in 2019 here, so we've got a fresh start with our snow removal budget, but we don't want to exhaust it in the first part of the year, right? We still have the end of the rest of this season and then the end of the year to contend with. So while we don't have any financials yet, because we're still removing snow, in fact, tomorrow we're going to be, and over the coming days, we're going to be removing more of the downtown areas where we have to do a lot of snow removal. I can't say how our budget is faring, but I do know that we always carry reserves for our snow removal operations. But it was quite a snowstorm. I know not only the cancellation of schools and continued cancellation, and obviously folks being concerned about having to go into the summer, right, with their days off. But fortunately, our crews fared really well, and we certainly appreciate their efforts, because their schedules get all out of whack, right? And we're at the mercy of when the storm happens and occurs. And in this case, it was a long storm, right? It started the night before, went into the evening after, and so we have to send our crews home for rest, and then they can come back in and continue their operation. So we do appreciate our residents' trust in us that we're going to get the snow removed. It might take us time, but we always have to do it safely and ensure that we do it in the most efficient way possible, so we can afford to continue to do the snow removal activities as we go forward.
So everything's A-okay so far, is what you're saying.
We didn't have any major equipment failures and no other major incidents, so it was a safe and a successful snow removal operation.
And of course, a thank you to all the businesses as well that kind of helped you out in that too, by saying, you know what, maybe it's not a good idea to put employees on the road today.
Yeah, right. Of course, there's some of that, especially the school district.
Yeah, absolutely. And we appreciate, again, help of all the snow removal folks, whether they work for the state or at any of the other cities as well, because they're the ones that help us get to work the next day. That's
no question.
And then you talked about some housing as well that we've been talking about. We've been talking about it for a year. You told me when we had the Metalco announcement that was kind of your little hint that something was in the works. Housing has been an issue in Wisconsin Rapids for a while. Can you what do you kind of an update do you have on that for us?
Well, we really are continuing to execute the housing study that we had commissioned a couple of years ago, right? That provided some recommendations that our housing stock was maybe not as up to date as what it should be, that it maybe wasn't as affordable or had enough elements of affordability, both on the upper end of the spectrum as well as the lower and everything in between. So we're really looking at the recommendations in that to make sure we're prioritizing those, because businesses like Metalco, now they're going to be under construction for 18 months, but they know that the 80 employees that they're going to employ directly, and then potentially the up to 3 that are created as a result of a new manufacturing business located in a community, that our surrounding area needs to be equipped to have the housing so our businesses can attract the talent that they're looking to hire to ultimately fill the positions that they'll create. So a number of things we've been talking about in the past. One is the downtown mixed-use triangle project in the city's downtown near the courthouse. That project remains an active project, and that we plan to bring a number of housing units, apartments to the downtown area to get people living downtown, to capitalize on and to grow the business sector that exists in the downtown area, as well as other apartments and single-family homes. So apartments and housing and single-family homes remains a core priority for the city, and we seek to address those recommendations that are pointed in that report.
Yeah, absolutely, because it doesn't matter, how many jobs that you're creating. If people can't find a place to live, they might end up going somewhere else. They might end up going to a neighboring community, and then you're not getting as much of an impact out of them as you could be because they're spending money in another community as well.
Right.
So
we've invested so much in community amenities, right? A proposed aquatic center that we're still fundraising for, riverfront enhancements, as well as all the other investments that our school district has made in school facilities. In order for us to capitalize on those things, we need residents living here. We need residents and families that have children in our schools, or we're going to continue to face flat or sometimes declining enrollment. So it really affects a lot of different things. And so people say, well, why is the city so concerned about housing? Well, it's because it affects literally everything else across the city.
Yeah, absolutely. And look forward to seeing where those projects end up going, or maybe if you've got some other ones that could be coming in the near future as well. We like those little road trips to the housing projects.
Yeah, well, hopefully the weather cooperates in future months for us to get outside again.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing before we let you go then. One thing that you've been big on, because I imagine that this is something that you were involved in at one time in your life, the Mayor's Youth Council, which you've been very active in holding monthly meetings and coming up with ideas, be that for the splash pad or improvements at the zoo. You're engaging the 14, 15, 16-year-olds like that. Could you give us an update on what you're working on there as well?
Sure. Well, the Youth Council has finally made it through their selection process. So on future shows, we can talk more about the details of them. But essentially, they've selected 2 projects for the rest of the year, one of which is a bicycle benefits program. So encouraging local businesses to honor or offer discounts to those that choose to bike to their business wearing their helmet. And their helmet will have a sticker on it. It's part of a national program, but the Youth Council felt that encouraging their fellow youth as well as families to get outdoors, to get active, and to go to a place of business that might give them a benefit or a discount in this case, to patronizing that business. So that's one project they selected. So what's interesting about that is they're going to be looking for bike parking or the lack thereof. That bicycle-friendly communities not only have bike lanes and safe places to bike, but they have bike parking where you can secure your bikes and spend some time. So that's one project, and then the other project that they're going to be working on is a movie night. So they found that part of the core objectives of the Youth Council's initiative is to listen to their peers and to select actionable items that they can take forward to improve the lives of young people in Wisconsin Rapids. So a teen movie night is one of the other ideas. So they're going to be working on pulling together at least one movie night in the spring and the summer here in the city where teens can come out in a safe place outside of the school hours in a sanctioned environment to watch a movie and to meet their friends and enjoy some time outdoors. So it's another project that they're leading and they continue to plan for when that project happens.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great reason to get people outside as well. You can't ever have too many of those.
That's right.
Well, Mayor Zach, we appreciate the time as always, and we look forward to what's to come next down here in Wisconsin Rapids.
Sounds good, Michael. Talk to you soon.